Okay, I'll talk about it. Sonic forces me to talk about it. The reviews will be having a field day with that title. So, weeks after everyone already talked about it, guess I'm here, repeating what's been said before again.
So, Sonic Forces.
Yes, interesting name. Looks,
The logo does have kind of a Star Wars Rebels look about it, being as Sonic is part of this resistance rebellion.
I guess I got more of a Korean military vibe from it. Hedgehog, Korean military. I sure hope that new character they promise will be a squirrel. So we have Squirrel and Hedgehog, Anyway, titles of Sonic games usually give a decent indication of what the focus of the games and gameplay will be. Adventure puts more emphasis on exploring its story. Heroes focus more on teamwork and skill sets. Unleashed, outside of a dog pun for the wolf, also works for the daytime stages, Sonic being entirely unrestrained and running like mad. Colors, I suppose, works with the design simplicity and innocence. The only Sonic titles that are utterly wrong about their game's concept in the title are Sonic the Hedgehog, '06, didn't really feel like a resurrection or a back to the basics game, and Sonic Lost Worlds, with a title implying a focus on exploration and mystical ancient lore and such, which neither the story nor the gameplay was ever really interested in. So yeah, Sonic Forces, it almost sounds like a more aggressive twin brother of Sonic Heroes, except with Heroes everyone's equal, where with Forces it implies there's a commander, a leader in control of troops. So yeah, it makes me think the new gameplay style will have something to do with that. I'm kind of thinking of Misadventures of Tron Bonne, where you can send surf bots to do your bidding while you yourself are battling the police in a giant mag. With the Wisps returning, maybe they're the troops you're in control of? Because obviously Sonic's friends are not allowed to do anything. That'd make the game dark and edgy and the gameplay immediately glitches and such.
So, what have we got so far is that classic Sonic is involved, hinting that time travel might be in use once again, and the short footage shows Sonic going through what looks like Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed slash Generations, but instead it's now under attack from giant robots.
I got more of a Disneyland Main Street vibe from that time. Well, I always wanted the continuation of the Generations gameplay, except bigger in scope, and I wanted more consistency in the gameplay department, and so far, Forza seems to be obeying my demands. Well, and Wisps and 2D section returning is a little bit too much, but other than that, the game seems to be doing exactly what I want so far. The director has been confirmed. Shun Nakamura, not a person badly pronounced name. He was the director of Sonic '06 and Billy Hatcher and Sonic '06 and Somebody Amigo and Sonic '06. And I like the guy. He's like, hey, there's no new info coming out until the next trailer by the end of summer. Wow, look at that, straight info. No stupid riddles or mysteries or treasure hunting bullshit that leads nowhere. Just straight up what's going to happen. Awesome. Very happy I can just follow him for news and can ignore Weber for now with his stupid hints and riddles that have just as much depth and meaning as his joke.
Let's say that this game is going for a Sonic CD slash Terminator angle, where these giant robots are being sent through time to destroy the planet and alter the timeline. What if we might see Green Hill Zone again, but this time it's in complete ruins?
Great, more Green Hill Zone. Well, at least it's on fire.
Everything's on fire, the loop-de-loops are destroyed, and these giant robots are smashing the totem poles and the plant life you know so well. Or Sonic is going for a Day of the Doctor method, picking his younger self out of his own timeline to help him. And I had this silly idea of his future self helping him out too, who looks like a hedgehog version of Cohen the Barbarian in a rocket-powered wheelchair wielding a worn-out and rusted Caliburn. Imagine going on loop-de-loops in a fast wheelchair. No, wait, that sounds like something out of Happy Wheels.
Sounds cool, which means it won't happen. Anyway, so there's the Lost World trees in the background. That's interesting. Seems they're trying to merge the realistic grounded world design and the more abstract world design from Sonic together. An attempt to make Sonic's universe feel like one cohesive universe again instead of a complete alternative dimension in each individual game. I'm surprised they care for once, so that's nice. So we have a level that's based on story context. Eggman attacks the city, and look and behold, we get a level based on that premise. What a novel concept. I hope they keep that up and won't do the thing where levels are just random exchangeable abstract nonsense while the story is off in its own little dimension. Also, it's mentioned the Chaotix calls in for information. That's interesting. So it isn't just quote-unquote main characters that are meaningless shoved in because they're allegedly main characters even though they haven't been relevant in over a decade. but they actually bother bringing in minor characters in and use them in a way that makes sense for what the characters are instead of just for abstract meta reasons. So I'm getting the vibe there's actually someone involved with the story who gives a damn. Not to mention the writers will most likely have to work very closely with the team working on the core of the game. So even if it is Pontav back at the steering wheel, they'll be held on a leash by the development team, so that's nice.
And instead of the usual plot of Sonic foiling Dr. Eggman's scheme in world domination, he's now involved in a full-scale war with Eggman's robotic forces. Or it could be Metal Sonic again, who's gone full Ultron and uses these giant robots to destroy these inferior life forms. It could be like the beginning of Sonic 3, where it starts off all nice and sunny, and then it suddenly rains missiles and everything's on fire. And then there's that part of outrunning bombs dropped by an aircraft carrier.
We can only hope.
Greetings, friends!
Oh, Jesus Christ, him again.
I'm just dropping by for a little bit because, from the gameplay of Sonic Forces, I'm noticing some similarities to another game.
Yeah, like every main game we had this decade. Very Unleashed-like.
Unfortunately, I wish that was all I had to say. Instead, the comparison sadly has to be made to Sonic Colors.
Because the Wisps, they're only confirmed for boost. And I'm totally sure they bring them in just for visual flair and representation of boosting, and not to shove in endless gimmicks and bullshit level design in the game.
In a sense, I am getting very tired of Wisps being shoved into every game. They were a part of Colors' plot, so it made sense for them to be there. But then they just started showing up in every single game.
Well, Generations had an excuse, and Lost World took place on Alien World, I guess. But yeah, I'm not holding my breath for an explanation why they're back again. I think at this point we're supposed to assume they're just naturally part of Sonic's world. Just like how you were supposed to assume Knuckles and Amy are main characters, or you have to assume half the alleged personalities and motivations the characters are supposed to have in Sonic Boom. They'll be key to my enjoyment, or lack thereof, for this game. Yeah, the 2D sections, that's the most concerning. If they are like Unleashed, continuing the same level design philosophy and flow of the 3D sections, then I'm okay with it. If it's like Generations, I'll tolerate it. But if the 2D sections are like Colors or Lost Worlds, ooh, the main game is not the handhelds, like those, yeah. Then we have a problem, Houston, because their level design sucked, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and what set Colors and Lost World apart from Unleashed and Generations? Alright, bigger emphasis on Wisps, so... As I said before, I hate 2D 3D switching because the way my brain treats those sections are different. 3D gameplay is immersive, you're there in the action, while 2D is more detached, abstract, more video game-y. Whatever is the better one is not really the point. The point is they're entirely different kinds of experiences, and if they're at least divided into their own individual levels, that's one thing, but switching in the middle of a stage keeps giving me a mental whiplash. And that is assuming the level design keeps the same rhythm and pace going, like Unleashed did, but in Colors and Lost World, the game practically turns to an entirely different genre when it switches to 2D as well.
Now that I have that off my chest, I must be on my way. I'm auditioning for the roster of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Farewell!
Bye, Captain Theory, and I need to get back to work too.